With us now live on Voices of Wall Street is Christal Bemont. She's the CEO of Talend, a data and cloud integration company with over 6,000 clients, including Domino's Pizza, Astrazenaca, L'Oreal, and of course, many, many more. Christal, it's great to see you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So for those who are not as familiar, give us a quick overview of where Talend really specializes in the cloud.
Yeah, you bet. So Talend focuses on data integration and data management. So really we help companies take really important information they have that runs their business or helps them view their business through reports and allows them to be able to operationalize their business or even start to analyze and view their business in terms of seeing the current as well as the future. So moving data and managing data, as well as making sure that that data is really good quality data, which is extremely important in our case.
You've had quite the year. Since taking over as CEO in January of last year, you have taken on this company under unprecedented times. What has been for you the key focus since you've taken the helm?
You know, it has been an interesting time to take over. Talend being a really incredibly important role in this time of COVID and seeing an explosion of move to the cloud. Talend has been needed more now than ever. So this has been an interesting time to take over as CEO. We saw cloud as a really big opportunity. You mentioned Domino's as one of our customers. You know, they were really at the forefront of considering themselves more of a data company and realizing the importance of data and how data helps them make decisions about where to serve their customers and how to serve their customers. And so being at a time where COVID has really put that, the level of importance of need to be able to find your customers and meet your customers where they're at, cloud has been more important than ever. So it's been an incredible time at Talend to really show up for our customers and to really show up for our employees, which is really important to me in terms of our culture.
Investors are really liking the company right now. The stock has been up 30% since you took over. How much of that has been obviously the shift with remote work and distributed workforces and more streaming and just more data in general? And how much of it is what has been driving the company internally, its growth?
I think cloud by far is one of the biggest indicators of our growth, and it is the future of our business. It's what we measure our own success against in terms of what we see as opportunity as well as what we see as the needs within our customer base and what we see in the industry as well. So we're very excited to be able to take advantage of a movement that's good for companies to really be able to lower their investment and to move to the cloud, and we're there to enable it. So it's been a really important time, and we've been excited to be there for our customers.
The latest results from the last 3 months of the year demonstrated this with, I think, the annual recurring revenue rate up about 19%. So in terms of your customer base, how much more do you think you can get them to add on to the services they already have with you to get some deeper integration?
Yeah, I think we're just at the very beginning, kind of at the tip of the spear, if you will. There are so many companies that, are really following the trend that Domino's set as one of the examples, but, not just out of opportunity, but out of necessity. So we see cloud as something that has explosive growth. We really set a measurement of $100 million in cloud ARR as an example, and we far exceeded that, and that was triple-digit growth for us. And it's something that we see as, like I said, just the really beginning kind of the tip of that spear, and we think that there's much more behind it, both with our existing customers as well as with new customers.
If you're at the tip of the spear, what part of the spear is still not yet realized for the opportunities that you want to go after and really what your clients need?
Well, there's really two things. One, I think you're really starting to see a big surge of people moving to the cloud. And so that one, just in terms of the sheer numbers of people that are on a digital transformation, if you will, or at a minimum, starting new projects in the cloud. That's something that we see. Even if they're not going to move all of their data to the cloud, the new projects that they have are usually starting in the cloud. So that's one thing. I think that's just the baseline. The second thing is we're really seeing people starting to pay a lot more attention to something we've been incredibly concerned with, which is not just the movement of data. That's one part of it, but the oversight of that data in terms of can you trust that data? And so there's another aspect of this that we really have, it's really in our origins of the quality of data. and being able to apply some standards around how do you measure what good data looks like to make sure that you're not just using data or instrumenting your business with data that isn't trustworthy, but it's something that you can really know emphatically that it is something that you can actually quantifiably rate and also explain why it's good or bad. And today that doesn't exist. So we really see an opportunity for people to not only move the business, their data through their business, but also to make sure that they can measure it and they can, put quality standards around it in the form of good quality health scores of data.
You really come into the equation, not sometimes at the very beginning of where the data has originated and really begin. I mean, you come in and you guys use the word, chaotic. I mean, it can be messy. The integration part is really, really important. How would you rate how companies overall are managing their data, organizing it from the start?
Yeah, I think we see a variety of things. And I think probably the biggest challenge is the number of data sources is increasing by the day. And just if you think about how many different constituents within an organization have the ability to pull information or data in from lots of different sources. So it's one thing to manage the data you have in-house already. But it's another thing when you start to think about how quickly that expands and how many different data sources and different types of data are available. That's a good thing, but it's also a scary thing if you think about how do you actually manage that in a way that who has access to it, making sure that it's governed in the proper way, and making sure if you're going to use it for any part of your business, that you're using it with those kind of trust scores and the health of the data in mind. And that's where I think that it's one thing of what people have done in the past. It's another thing of what's on the forefront, which is just this overwhelming amount of what I like to say, this digital landfill of data is what seems to be more and more prevalent.
Landfill, not a great image. I mean, you guys have a pretty dirty job in that case to try to sort and get through all of that. In terms of the future, are there specific sectors where you feel you as a company can go after, maybe with the new administration, an opportunity to review some of those existing contracts or renewing some of those? Maybe you have a chance to win some of those over. Do you have any plans really to go over to DC and visit a little bit more with them?
Well, I think more than anything, the interesting thing about Talend is we really show up for all different types of industries, all different kinds of use cases, if you will. The different needs for people to really digitize their information is something that we really stand behind. When you really move over to the quality standards and the trusted data and the health of data, I see that is something that's really on the forefront. We're really leading the charge in that, and where it really evolves to, only time will tell. But I do think that there's interesting things taking place. Like if you think about there's certainly a lot of regulations around certain data elements, like you think about HIPAA and the importance of keeping the privacy of patients and their data, obviously something that's very much regulated. But then you start to think about, well, what has COVID done? COVID has now opened the doors on that a little bit, where you start to think about, okay, so now in order to maybe open offices, you need to take the temperature of your employees. You need to know if maybe, where they stand in sort of whether they've had COVID or whether. So you start to kind of have all these scenarios that play out that you start to wonder, how are people going to actually manage this in the future? I think that there's a role that Talend can play at least identifying when those circumstances arise and making sure that people are at least aware of things that could be opportunities for them or could be potential risk. And that's the role that we look to play. Whether that goes into something that's more on the regulations front or not, I'm not sure. But I think what we definitely want to do is make sure that we provide the right tools and the right capacity for people to at least have an indication of something that's measurably good or bad and explain why, so that they can make the proper decisions and they know what they're working with. But it's a little worrisome that this isn't in existence right now. So we're going to take the charge on that.
In a very competitive landscape and also at times very much overlapping, how do you make sure Talend stands out for the things that Talend specializes in and are maybe better than competitors at? And especially with a newcomer like Palantir coming to public markets, how has that changed maybe the way that you approach new clients, existing clients?
Yeah, it's something that we refer to as kind of putting ourselves in the middle of the room first and foremost. So we try to really make sure that customers can make the decision that's best for them. So whether we're talking about different cloud providers that they may want to choose to do business with, one or more, we want to make sure that we support our customers no matter what technology stack that they choose. That's number one. I think the most important and ultimate criteria for us showing up for our customers and really separating ourselves from the industry is the value that we bring, is to make sure that we don't just rest on the laurels of what got us to this point, of really thinking about what are the next problems that our customers are going to face. What are the things they're going to struggle with that maybe we don't even realize is a struggle because it's not something that's on their doorstep today. I think moving to the cloud is something that's on their doorstep. The next part of that is what happens when we've moved a bunch of data to the cloud and we haven't put any sort of parameters around it. It's constantly looking one step further to say, well, how do we make it easier? How do we make it more cost effective and efficient? But then how do we also start to look for risk or opportunities that may not even be here today, but that people are just starting to recognize? And so for us, it's about that value that we add and continuing to expand where we can show up for our customers.
Looking ahead to the rest of this year, since the company has been around, I guess at this point, almost 16 years, we're in the middle of this first quarter, and the forecast already that you guys have put out is that there might be a wider than expected loss. Give us a rundown of how you anticipate the rest of the year unfolding for Talend, any tailwinds and headwinds that you can share with us.
Yeah, we really, as I said, we measure our future and our success on our cloud business. We see cloud as, like with any growth company, an opportunity to really invest in kind of that very question that you asked a moment ago is how do we continue to separate ourselves and show up for our customers? Investing in the technology that we have to make it easier and faster to use and more cost efficient. And then also looking at ways that we can continue to add elements of our service as a software as a service provider and making sure that we continue to expand what customers can do with our service. So those investments are really important, which is where we plan on making sure that we put the proper investments. I think the growth itself is something we're really proud of. To come through a year like COVID and to have better than expected results, but those were expectations we set before COVID. So, we're very excited coming off of a year that we set those expectations and that guidance before we knew anything that was going to happen in 2020. And we still came out way ahead of what we had even anticipated. And I attribute that to the amazing employees at Talend, our incredible partners, and, really the need that's in the industry. And we're going to continue to show up and make sure that we're really there for our customers as these opportunities and necessities evolve for our customers.
Well, congratulations on a tremendous run so far in your first year. Wish you the best of luck this year, and we look forward to talking to you next time, Christal.
Thank you so much for having me, Hope.
And that's Christal Bemont. She's the CEO of Talend. Thanks again.